Okay, so this is our second attempt here. We're going to talk about making some tank tread. And before we start up here, I hate to go over this again with you guys, but I just wanted to clarify some of the reference that I have up here that I was looking at a little bit ago on tank tread and the benefit of observing some of this reference. Some of the things that I noticed were the ways that the treads connect together, the way that they overlap with each other, and also there's a huge difference between look at this, is like highly detailed tread that would take quite a bit of time to model one little chunk of that with these little insertion points versus look at this. Here's a piece of tread that has literally just like big pieces of rubber on top of it. I'm not a tank aficionado, but I would probably guess that there's a difference between if the tank's going to be driven on a street environment, it might have rubber on it. If it's going to be in a muddy environment versus, look at this. You can get something like this. Those are actually Polaris tracks. They're like a rubber mounted track. Let me bring up the other reference here. Escape out. Okay, 1 second. So looking at this other reference here that I had right up here, okay, looking at the difference in tread patterns. There we go. This is what was important for me to really establish. This is, again, highly intricate, lots of squares in there, and then something like this, which is sort of flat and padded. These have pads on the outside, okay, so it's sort of up to you on how detailed that you want to get, okay. This one, big pads with just sort of this L-shaped bracket inside there, okay, so it's up to you how far you want to take it. Okay, so what I did is I just went here into Maya really quick after looking at some of this reference, and I wanted to encourage you guys to think about there's some different options and approaches to making these treads. Okay, one of the things you want to really consider in the beginning here is, are we going to start with a piece of base geometry and smooth it off, okay, or do you want to have it as a hard edge? Okay, so if I want to start, if you look at this, I have a piece here that has a smooth node on it, okay, so it's just a rough poly shape. I've gone in, I've done a couple extrusions, okay, then I've come back, I've inserted some interior edges, so when I go to smooth it, it's holding that distinct edge right there, okay. Now if I wanted to, do you see how this has that round edge in here? If I didn't, I sort of think that's cool. If I don't want it to be round like that, what I could do is come in here and insert another edge loop in here, okay. And whenever, if you remember that, we talked about that before, if I have multiple edges next to each other, they're going to create a nice hard edge, okay? So that was just sort of one option that I did, okay, which is cool. I could still go in there and add a lot more interior detail in here. Then I went in, I took another piece here. I did a couple more extrusions on it. One of the differences here is that when I go to smooth it, I get this rounded effect that happens on these three right here. That's a sort of a plus and a negative. If you look at the geometry closely, you'll see it's giving me this black edge along here from where the edge of the geometry right in here is overlapping each other. So this might be a good example of keeping it as a hard edge model if I wanted to, where I could just leave it like that, add some other detail. But if I go to smooth this, that's not really great for me right there. So if I wanted to, what I could do is come back here. I have a hotkey for inserting my edge loops. I could come in here and throw a couple edge loops along here. Okay. I'll leave that one so we can see the difference. And I also might come in here and see if I can splice another one down the middle here. See if that can get it to hold together. Okay, now if I go and hit 3, okay, 1 second here. Click off of it. So now you can see the difference by inserting those edge loops in there. Do you see what happened? It really put a nice crisp edge on there, and it kept the geometry from overlapping itself right here like it did there. Okay, so if I like the direction of this particular tread piece that I have here, I have some other adjustments to put on it. I do sort of like what's happening here, but I need to go in. That feels sort of gritty and heavy to me, and so, but I need to go in there and now apply what I just did to the other side. So a lot of times you guys have been just taking edges and putting bevels around it. There's nothing wrong with that. That can be a way of working. Okay, but you also need to think about if you're going to do, a friend of mine used to call this a hard edge model versus putting the smooth option on it. Okay, you need to really consider what it's going to look like and what the shape's going to do or not do. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. I mean, I would have to come over here now and apply those same edge loops inside there, because without that I'm getting these round shapes that are contorting. When they contort, the geometry is meshing together and I'm getting that black edge. So let's do that. I'm going to come over here. I have my hotkey for insert edge loop. Okay, so if you wanted to find that, you can just go over here and find under edit mesh, there's insert edge loop right there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and splice it right here. It's going to put a splice down there, one across there. I put one on the interior edges in here, put one in here, and I think I also, no I didn't, that's all I did was put those two. I was going to put one across here, but if I put one across there, it's going to get rid of that nice, see that rounded effect I get in there? It's going to take that out. Okay, so if I want to look at my object now and I smooth it up, that's what I have right now. For some, I always get this, I get that line that stays in there, and I have to sort of click off of it, come back to look at it. Okay, so that's sort of the start of my tread now. I could come back and really, I just started detailing it, so I could come back and start sinking vertices in, moving stuff around. So if I right click on this, I go to vertices, what would happen if I grabbed a set of vertices in here? And if I were to sink these down, it's going to create sort of a hard-edged feel on it, and that might be something that I want to include into my model. However, though, a lot of these tie together right now. Actually, it'd be better to do these right here. Give me a second. Let me go through and select all these here. So if I go through, grab all these. Okay. I'm going to go to my, I know I selected through. Oh, I could have swore I did, just make sure I didn't have anything else selected. And if I grab those vertices and if I pull them down under the surface, you see what it starts to do? It starts to create a nice defined edge in there. Okay. Okay, so if I want to make that a real crisp edge and have the indication that there's an indentation, I got to have to come back in there, add another edge loop in there, connect some edges with some vertices, and it'll give me a nice defined shape. But for right now, let me go ahead and let me do that, and let's touch off of it. That's sort of cool how that looks. I have a little bit more interior detail around there. So if I wanted to, I could come back now and do that to the whole entire ring around every one of these. I would just have to come in here, let me Command Z, bring that back up to where it was. Okay, and I could come in here and start selecting all these vertices. I know it can be a little time consuming, but it's really not if you just sit, hold the shift button, spin around a couple times. It takes you a couple minutes. Okay, got those. I might come over here, do the same thing to these. Okay, now that's just one side. I have the other side I can do, but what I'm going to do right now is just focus on the detail on this one side, then I could duplicate it and flip it over and replace this side here. Does that make sense? So I'm going to save myself some time of having to go through and select everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and drop these down a little bit. As I drop them down, I want to make sure I'm not moving any of the vertices on the back side here. I'm not. Okay, and let's go over here. Let's touch off of it and see what I have. So just by dropping those vertices, now I created this sort of nice hard edge that's in there. Okay, so now I might want to come back and start adding some more hard edge detail around here, perhaps around this edge as well. Okay, so again, I'm sort of introducing you guys to this experimentation of messing around with base poly shapes, expanding them out, and going back from number 1 to number 3, okay, in your smooth option here. All right. So this is really important to think about here. This is how you're going to get lots of detail. This is how you can introduce some organic lines and shape inside your piece. Okay, I want to see if I can come in here and make a cool shaped edge, like an L shape or something in there, and see if I can apply that into my model. Okay, so I'm going to do that next. All right, let me go ahead. and pause the video here, and then we'll dive back into it. Then what I'll do at the end is I'll start on a whole new tread piece right here. Okay, so 1 second. Okay. All right, so what I was just telling the class, I wanted to get this recorded here. Oops, I just noticed I have a vertex there that wasn't moved. You see that one? I need to fix that real quick. Let me fix that real fast here. All right, so what I want to do, what I was just mentioning, is I want to detail this whole entire side over here without having to come back to this side. Since it's a mirror image and it's a tank tread here, I can continue. Let's click off of it real quick. Put the smooth note on, right? I can continue to detail this up and add whatever I want in here, and then I can duplicate it, put it on the other side. So let's see what happens when I do that really quick. Go in here to face, delete this side of the face here, come back, center my pivot, let's take this guy here. Let's say I detail him up. I would come over here, I put him on scale, I flip him over, okay, right there. I come over, I slide him into position. Those vertices look like they're pretty close and like they're going to fit. Peter, maybe one time if you slid it over, you didn't have the objects completely lined up. Because watch, I can do this too. If it's slightly off, you could have turned it maybe and didn't check your settings up here. But see, when I select this object right here, that's at 0, 0, 0. If you have that slightly turned and then you go to move it and then combine it, it's going to be off. And here's a great way to check. As you go like this, you grab the vertices here. Let's both go to the vertices. There, grab the vertices. Come on. There we go. And you do the scale test. Let's go. All right, it's not letting me select. Let me try it again here. Come on, Maya, it's acting all funky. There it goes. See, I can scale them up. You can get real close and scale them. Look, and they hit each other. Right, smack dab. Okay, so you might have been slightly off, maybe.
That's for sure, but just try again.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, let's look at my tank tread. So what I was saying is that I'm just going to detail this piece. I'm going to continue detailing it more. Okay, and see what I end up with. And I was also thinking about putting some type of a pattern in here and seeing what that might develop into. Okay, so again, I started with this from one base piece. I had a piece that was like this. I came in, I just added some subdivisions inside it. Okay, in the width here. Let's put it this way. Oops, there we go. Okay, I came in, let me put one more in. Let's go to 6. I started extruding some faces out. So you notice I took 2 on the outside, 1 there. Extrude. You know, and just thinking ahead, watch. I'll do this opposite side at the same time. Because when I pull them out, they'll all go the same distance. So if I pull this guy out a little bit, like that, and I hit extrude again, so I can create a little interior edge in here. Kind of like that. I always like these little interior rounded edges to come off a little bit like that. Okay. However, though, in here, I didn't want that to happen. So what I would have to do, if I Command Z, deselect this, okay? Now I would hit extrude, pull this, oops, deselect all this by grabbing Control, pulling over it, okay? It's still registering for a second. Now I extrude it again. Now it's just going to extrude the edges that I want right in here. Back up. Now I got an edge that I didn't mean to get either. There. It's doing it again. 1 second, guys. Come on, deselect. Let me start all over. There we go. So the problem I was having is that when I go to extrude, I have my faces together. I need to fix that. So I'm going to deselect here. I'm going to come back down in here under Edit Mesh, go to Extrude, click on Keep Faces Together. So that was the problem that I was having. These two were separating. And I was trying to fix it, and it was taking a little bit longer than I thought. Man, this new selection tool sucks in Maya. It touches everything else I don't want it to touch. There we go. So now I have those objects, those faces extruded out. Now if I go to do it, I have faces together. So now it's gonna work the way that I want it to. There we go. Let's pull it out a little bit. Okay. So pause for a minute and look at what happens when if I touch my object here and I put it on smooth. See, I have no edges holding it together. So I need to go in there and insert some edges and get it to become strong. And that's how without that, I'm going to get that rounded feel. And so when you come over here, you'll notice I don't have that happening because I have two edges next to each other that are holding the object together. So what I need to do is come in here in the low res mode here. I need to insert some edge loops and get some other edges existing. Now, if I come in and just extrude out, that's not always going to be a great solution for me. Let's see what happens if I do that here. Okay. See, it didn't really, I put a little bit of a hard edge, but since I extruded out, it creates this round surface to it. So what I really need to do is if I Command Z that and go back, okay, come in here, I'm going to go back under that Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop, which I have a hotkey, Command I, right? I can come over here now and just slap some edge loops in here. Right in there. Okay. If I don't put one in here, it's going to round in there, right? So I'm going to put one in right there. You'll notice after I put it in, I can leave it and I can hit the arrow and I can move it to where I want to get it to be in the exact place. I usually just eyeball it and get it in, you know. Oops. Let's go to Command I again. Get one in about right there. Get one in right here. Another one in right here. So now when I go to hit 3, see how my edges hold together here? Okay, it's because I put that dedicated edge in there. All right. But now let's look at where it's not holding. It's not holding back there because I don't have any edges. It's funny. Sometimes you get something that comes across and you weren't thinking of what it would. That's sort of cool how it has that blend down there. That looks sort of neat, but it's a little too stretched in there. So I almost want to put an edge loop. That'd be cool for like a futuristic tank pad. That might have just been a happy accident that I encountered that I wasn't thinking about. So what I'm going to do on this one is come back and insert an edge loop. I'm going to pull it back a little bit to about here. And then when I go to smooth it now, see what it did? Is it kept it a little bit round. Now watch what happens if I grab that edge loop. See, if I pull it up real close versus further away, okay? That's the difference. If I put that edge loop right there and I go to smooth it, okay, it keeps a nice rounded edge. But if I move that edge down a little bit further and then go to smooth it and press 3, it really changes the effect of it. So I'm going to keep this edge right up and about here, looking at it smooth. That's sort of cool. I like that. Okay. Again, I like to click off the geometry and just look at it as a whole, see what it's doing, like this. There we go. So I can see if there's something I want to adjust. Sort of curious, what if I did something, what if I pulled these vertices out here? Maybe this would create a cool little pattern or detail on my model. Should have no other vertices selected. So that's pretty cool. It can be neat. It has a nice rounded sort of futuristic feel to it, so that can make a pretty neat tank tread right there. In fact, I like that idea quite a bit, because then I could add something coming up off of this side here, and it might start to make this really neat looking texture. However, though, I do see a little bit of black in there. That's fine. Maybe I need to insert a secondary loop in there and get that to sort of support it. Okay? So now there's something I could do. I don't really like to do this. I like to have my edges go all the way through. Okay? There's another option and another tool for you for you guys to use. Okay, under my edit mesh option, I have this cut faces tool. I always change the name of it. It used to be called split polygon tool. What this allows me to do is come over and let's see if it'll work here. I couldn't get it to even select. Okay, that's not it. Hold on a minute. Oh, come on. You know what? That was the wrong tool I think I grabbed, because they always change the name. It wasn't cut faces, interactive split mesh with curve. No, it's not it. That was cut faces. It used to be split polygon. They're always changing these every year. Drag to cut. And then if I drag it, oh no, that's not what I don't want to do. That's not it at all. What happened to it? Oh, that's what it is. Now it's the interactive split tool. So on the interactive split tool, what it does, it allows me to get up here and I could put this little cursor over wherever I want. And when I get it, let's say right here in the middle, and what's cool is Maya will find out the middle and it'll snap it. It didn't used to do that. It does that now. This is one of those new changes. So now when I get it right here, if I hit return, okay, it'll snap it. Hold on a minute, guys. All right, let me back up there. I had an issue with it. And then touch right here. Here it goes. It didn't work, and then all of a sudden now it's working. And then I'm going to drag this over. Watch. I touch here. See that? Then I'm going to bring it back down, touch here. And when I'm done touching, I hit enter. There it goes. Last time maybe I missed a point and it snapped. But now I have a supporting edge in there. Okay, so now when I go to smooth it, look at what it does. Okay. Actually, it doesn't look like it's doing much right now, but I can move that line around a little bit because I have a vertex there now. So look at what happens if I move this over and I hit smooth. See, that's affecting my shape now of that curve. I can't do that in there because I don't have that in there. So watch. If I come back here and move it back, let's do it on the other side here as well. So I'm going to come back under Edit Mesh here and Interactive Split Tool. It snaps it in the middle right there for me. I come over here, I can snap it right in there. Bring it right down there, it snaps it as well. I hit Enter, and I have those edges in there, right? Now, I can come over here, I can grab some vertices. Let's go to the smooth mode, and look at what happens. What happens if I expand that out? See, that's pretty cool. It tightens up part of the edge in there. Okay, what if I scale it in the other way? Creates a little bit of a pinched line there. I like going like this and expanding it out a little bit because I get this sort of really neat curved looking shape added in there. Okay, that's where I was. Now that's where I've gone to. Okay, that creates still have a little bit of a concern right in here. See, there's no supporting geometry in there, so it's rounding up, and I get a little bit of that black, and I don't want that black to show in a render. So what I would do right now is I would come in here and I might add another inserted edge throughout here. Now, let's look at it again in the shaded mode and decide, do I need that on the outside? Do I want it to go all the way through? Or do I want it just on the end here? So let's say I want it just on the end. Let's do this as sort of a demo here. Okay. Let's go back in here, Edit Mesh here, Interactive Split Tool. I might come along here and say, let's see if I can get this to be completely centered right in here. Okay. For some reason it's not holding right there. That's alright. Not holding on any of these, like there's a problem with the geometry or something. Huh, that's weird. I couldn't get it to snap on. Let's try this. Huh? Should I hit return first and then continue off of it? Okay, so we had an issue here getting the split tool to work, and so there was a solution given to us by one of our lovely students, Sir Ed, and it works a whole lot better now. And let me go through and just do this really fast. Okay?
Left of the vertex.
Huh?
Left of the vertex in the corner.
That's okay. I'll be right there in a second. And I got to remember this. So here's the tip that Ed displayed with this is knowledge that I would have been lost with. By hitting shift, right clicking, going to split, allowing that menu to come up, and going to this split polygon tool works tremendously accurately better than does the other option.
Right.
And you know what's funny is this is how it used to work, is it never got orange. It used to just get green. So now that I have that interior line in there, it's all crooked as hell. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to go in here, I need to select some vertices in here. I need to get these edges, these vertices and edges straightened up. I could probably select the edge tool. That might do it, but this is just sort of an old school thing. You guys, I'll process this lecture and try to get it up on the blog for you. There we go. Now I have these. Let's make sure I have nothing else selected in here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to squash these down right here. So now they're all level. Okay. And I just noticed that I have a little deformity right in here. And that was from when I moved these points over. I scaled them over too much in this. Well, you know what though? That might be the changeover between smooth. Yeah. You notice that, Ed? When it's in this mode, the geometry is overlapping each other, but when you smooth it, it stays together and you don't get that edge, which is fine. For a minute, I thought my geometry is really bad. So what I did is I just selected all those vertices there. I scaled them together so they'd be a nice even line. And now that I have that done, I could come in here and I could use these to manipulate part of my shape here. Those edges are going to hold it together. They're going to allow me to make some other adjustments that are in there. Bye, guys. Good night. All right, so right now, looking at just sort of the variations I've done in the tank tread, I'm really liking how this tread's coming together. I'm going to pause here for a minute and I'll add some more detail. I'm imagining it when I copy it like this. If I get a couple other edges popping out of here that have some really sort of cool organic feels with some nice edge. See that looks alien with that sleek feel to it. It looks different to me, and I want to go for something different versus when I'm looking over here at this other tread that I had. That's only at half the tread, right? Here, let's just take a look at the full tread here. Okay. So when I take a look, if I imagine what that tread looks like this, it feels much more modern, something that I've seen before, which isn't bad. That could be a good solution. I still might do both just to see how that ends up looking, but something's really feeling pretty cool about this. I feel if I come in here, do a little bit more work, and see where this piece is taking me, I might end up with a really fantastic tread piece that I wasn't really thinking about. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll stop this, see if I can't work on it a little bit more this week, and then I'll try to finish it up for you guys. Okay.